Hi, I'm Virginia from the Health Creators Podcast, where we talk about the impact and business of being a health creator. Here with me today is Scarlett. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Hello. So tell me about yourself. What do you do and how did you get into creating health information videos?
So, my name is Scarlet Nazarian. I am by trade a general surgical registrar in London. However, I also have many other hats. So, I'm also a clinical research fellow, and I'm just about at the end of my PhD at Imperial. I'm also a content creator, and I love creating content online on all the social media platforms. And I'm also a wife to my husband, who's an anaesthetist, and a mum of two, and recently had my second, Hugo, who's a few months old. So, yeah, I think that's all of my hats mainly.
Brilliant. Lovely. So how did you get into creating health information videos? What made you want to start?
So, lots of reasons why I got into it. I always really enjoyed watching other videos and looking at the content online before starting out. And one of my friends was always like, you need to get onto this as well as a healthcare professional because there's so much more you can give than you can kind of sitting in a clinic room, essentially. And it's so true. Um, Mainly, I got onto it initially because as a female surgeon, I realized that there weren't that many surgeons on social media, and there weren't that many female surgeons generally in the population that, ones even that I could look up to and aspire to. So I felt that there were a lot of myths and stereotypes about females in surgery that I felt that I'd like to kind of bust and break down those stereotypes. And I'd like to show others, especially those aspiring to be surgeons or even those aspiring to be something where, there are a lot of stereotypes within that field, that they can do it. And with a bit of hard work, with a bit of focus, it's about kind of not listening to anyone else and kind of pursuing what you want and what your dreams are. So that's how my kind of handle came about, which was the female surgeon. And initially, I was almost quite surprised that it hadn't been taken yet. This was in the era where everyone had handles rather than their name. So yeah, so one of the reasons was to kind of inspire others. My second kind of motivation was in order to essentially increase awareness of important health topics, especially, for example, breast cancer, which is one of my big passions in life. And essentially what I'd kind of been told about and also what it ended up being, which was as a doctor or as a surgeon, when you see patients in clinic or in hospital, there's one patient in front of you that you're speaking to, whereas on social media, hopefully you'll get to hundreds and thousands of people that you're able to kind of speak to and reach. So I wanted to create content that was able to inform and educate the general public, but also be educational, engaging, informative, and so on. And probably the third reason was maybe in a way, I started out during COVID. I started out when everything was a bit kind of, life was a bit strange and on hold, and there was no social aspect to life. And I wanted to join a community almost. I felt like, on social media, there was a community of medical professionals and also kind of, and I've come to realize a real kind of group that's almost becomes your personal friends in a weird way, even though some of them you may or may not ever have met. And my husband thinks I'm crazy when I'm DMing and messaging people who are, from all over the world and from all walks of life. But yeah, I think the other one was to join that community and kind of have that impact on the audience. Yeah.
Love that. And I really recently enjoyed your series where you were quite pregnant And you were talking about how being pregnant doesn't stop you from doing your job. And I found that really, really interesting because I thought, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. And I think it was so unique. And also, I think it
Oh,
also
thank you.
was able to shine a light on, how women can do things. And you shouldn't really stereotype and start to say, oh, I don't want a pregnant person doing my surgery. And just like, well, a person being pregnant doesn't stop them from being the person that they are, that's skilled and trained to do.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what was your kind of favorite myth to bust on your channel so far?
I absolutely love busting myths. A lot of them, I love doing through the process of being in that state. And definitely one of them was being pregnant and operating whilst being heavily pregnant and showing that it's definitely possible. I think given that one of my main reasons for starting out my kind of social media platform was to um, inspire others to do surgery, especially women, I think that's one of the things I love breaking kind of myths about the most is that females can make it all the way to the end and do everything that they intended to do. There's a recent kind of hashtag out at the moment about, women in male dominated fields, essentially. And everyone's got their own little quirky sayings about it. But in reality, gender inequality, especially within healthcare and especially within surgery, still exists. It's unfortunately around us. It is becoming less and less common, especially as that older generation is kind of filtering through, as it were. And so I think nowadays people are much more aware, and we've got now things in place to encourage women and to encourage gender equality, essentially within a workplace. But being heavily pregnant, wanting all the same kind of goals and aims as your male counterpart or male colleague, being paid the same, and so on, should all be possible. So yeah, I do love busting that side of things. And then obviously in my other hat, I also love busting myths around health misinformation. And I'm the only essentially medic in my family. My parents, my sister, all of them lot, they'll watch a video and still, because they have no medical knowledge at all, be essentially brainwashed about kind of, oh, if you have pickled garlic, it'll help with your common, cold symptoms or something ridiculous like that. But it's really important to be able to bust really just very things that I would think are common sense, but actually lots of people don't know about. And so if you don't tell them the cause of something, or the fact that certain things like deodorant won't cause breast cancer, or and so on, I think those sorts of things are also really important to us.
Brilliant. So what's your kind of content creation process? Where do you get your inspiration from? And then how do you create your videos?
So kind of two parts, I'd say mostly. I think with my content creation, it's basically me coming up with an idea and then me trying to come up with how that idea and a trend that I've seen online that I've really engaged with and I find really entertaining can come together and kind of mash together. And that's it, really. Honestly, it's as simple as that with my content. And sometimes it's almost embarrassing, slash, I'm like, oh God, is this too much? But it's worked well, and it engages the audience and it entertains them in the same time as telling them about the symptoms of breast cancer or the symptoms of bowel cancer, and so on. So I think bringing those things together, whether it's a trending sound or a hashtag or a dance where I can get my fellow colleagues involved with, especially, obviously I love doing that and they hate it, so it works really well. But my scrub team are fantastic and they're always amazing, and happy to do it for the educational content, as it were. But yeah, so it's basically those things coming together and hopefully trying to educate as many people as possible.
Lovely. I love that. I love that you get your whole team involved as well.
You've seen it. Yeah.
So, have there only been any situations where you've been offered to promote something, or what are your kind of rules and boundaries on that?
So, yes, and I think when we come together as medical professionals, this is a topic that I think we're always discussing and we always talk about. What I've always said is what I promote, just in general, not in terms of brands or anything like that. What I promote on my social media is what I believe in, what I would want to tell my patients, and what is essentially down to being evidence-based, and within my professional boundaries. And that's what I try and keep to. As much as I, love doing an embarrassing dancing video and keeping up with trends, yeah, that's absolutely fine. But I'm also trying to send a message with that, which is educational and so on. But I would never, and it's completely up to others how they go about it. But on mine, I try and be, yeah, as mindful and professional as I can with certain topics. And so if it comes to brands that approach me, I look at it as how that brand will align with my views and how that brand will align with my goals on my social media. And so if it's about a supplement or and I get that a lot, with a new protein powder or something. Firstly, it's probably, if it's not something I would use, I wouldn't promote it. Number two, if it's not something I wouldn't advise others or advise my patients, then I won't do it. I have got also some very bizarre brands approach me with certain things that I'm like, I just couldn't do that. As a surgeon, obviously, who covers kind of colorectal, I get a lot of like strange things, like bum guns and like wash bottles and things like that. So it kind of goes down the strange route. But yeah, I think essentially I try and keep as much to what's aligned with my platform as possible and aligned to my aims with what I want to get across.
Great. I love that. I think it's so important to, if you're going to promote something and you're going to put effort to work with someone to promote something, then you have to really believe in it because it's hard work, right?
Oh God, yeah. And we were, saying it's not just it's it's creating the content, but it's also, especially when a brand is behind it, it's all about what they want and they push and push and push, and you've got to push back and you've got to be. It's important to be confident enough to push back, and that's why it's good to have your boundaries and to have set goals because then no, I'm not willing to go that far. Whether, whatever it might be, even if it's a charity trying to promote something, whether it's a paid like a partnership or whatever. I think if you have your goals and you're just willing to only, sacrifice what you're willing to sacrifice, then that's good.
Good rules to create by. So how do you choose when you create content? Because you're a mum of two very young little ones and you're also a surgeon as well. So,
yeah.
And a wife and,
yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When. And I must say social media becomes a bit of my kind of like my procrastination. So whenever I, don't want to finish writing up my thesis, or I don't want to, reply to work emails, I'm like, oh, let me just go on TikTok and create a video, or on Instagram and create a reel. But yes, where do I find the time? I think that being a surgeon, it's been great because I think to be a surgeon, you have to be really focused and organized. And as a result, that's kind of followed me through life, even as a mum, which means that I'm try and be as organized as possible. And that's one of the tips I always tell others whenever they say, I want to do this, how can I get there? Da, da, da. And I'm always like priorities. So prioritize what's most important to you and put that in a list. If it's being a mum, number one, career number two, going to social events number three, or whether it's the social events that you want to prioritize number one, that's absolutely fine as well. But it's all about priorities and being organized. This is what I'm doing today. In the morning, this is what I'm going to do. In the afternoon, this is what I'm going to do. Don't, oversell your time either. You only have, you have to give yourself a chance to breathe, relax. You have to give yourself a plan B for certain things, because especially being a mum, I've realized, getting out the door is not as easy anymore, because of tantrums and no, not this coat, but this coat. So, and that's the same in life. That's the same in my, especially in surgery, when you go in, you're operating on a patient, you think you're going to, come across one thing, and then you open them up, you come across something else, and it's going to be another 6 hours instead of the 2 hours you initially thought. So it's all about kind of working with that and trying to, again, be organized, prioritize, and so on. So yeah, those are the kind of things I always try and kind of, I guess, tell others and also abide by myself.
Brilliant. So do you have any other top tips? Because you mentioned being really organized and focused, and maybe use it as procrastination, I guess. Rather than scrolling, be a creator, So...
Exactly. But also, as I tell my husband, scrolling is my way of, finding new content and finding that trend. So I'm not just enjoying myself, on there. I'm actually doing work that's part of my other hats. So I need to be doing it. But yes, sorry, other top tips in terms of creating content, or yeah. So I think, as I've kind of repeated as well, have the goals in mind of why you want to create the content, and then that will kind of help you guide what content you create. It's always good to be quite niche, I think. I probably haven't always grasped this, but I think having a niche in terms of not, it's absolutely fine to do about every health topic out there. But I think if you're a general surgeon and you keep to general surgical topics, or if you're a, obstetrician and you keep to like talking about babies and what's kind of what's true to you, what I think it will do better and you'll do better. I mean, there are certain things that are obviously slightly more kind of, hot topic and that more people want to know about. And I know that surgery probably is only really for when people get there, and that's not until later in life. So a lot of what I put out there doesn't get as much engagement as I'd like, and that's fine. And that's the other thing. My other top tip would be, don't let kind of, only a few hundred views or only 5 people saying, well, well done, or this is great, get you down. But also don't let the trolls and the negativity get you down. Just keep doing what you're doing, because even if it's that one person you reached, and you'll never maybe know it because they've viewed your video, they've taken on board what you've said, they haven't liked it, they haven't commented on it, they haven't saved it, but they viewed it. And it's that person that really can make your content can really impact. And that's the difference that I personally want to make. So, I think, have I waffled on too much?
No,
But yeah,
no, not at all.
those tips. I don't even know if I covered any tips for anyone. But yeah, those.
You mentioned having impact was a really important part of being a content creator. So have you received any messages from the people who do like to leave a comment or send you a direct message or email to say how much you've helped them?
Yes. And it's always so, I'm just like, oh, it's so sweet, because one, it just makes everything worthwhile, what I'm doing, and all the, time where I feel like I'm wasting time or I'm procrastinating. Actually, it just shows I am helping and I'm doing something good. And so, yeah, when you get the messages, in your inbox of, for example, I had it from someone who's young, kind of school age, and they were like, you really inspired me to want to go and do medicine. I thought, I wasn't clever enough and I didn't have, what was needed, but I watch your videos and it really inspires me and so on. And honestly, when I read this long message, I just want to almost kind of virtual hug the person, which is, it's just so sweet. And I'm so glad I can have that impact on that person. Um, and then, of course, it's those comments you see on your videos where it says, you know, thanks to this video, went to my doctor, got this checked out, or, oh, I didn't realize that skin changes on my breast was also a sign of breast cancer, and so on. So anything like that is obviously, just really rewarding and satisfying, and kind of, yeah, definitely kind of pushes me to keep going with this, and not view it as a kind of numbers game or how many likes or whatever, but more about kind of the impact you're making, as you quite rightly asked about. Yeah, and kind of see it that way.
Amazing. I love that. And I totally agree, because sometimes you'll spend ages on a video and like 2 people will see it, but maybe 2,000 people in 2 years will see it. So, putting it out there.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And also, I'd say the other thing was through my social media, it's created different avenues, and it's allowed me to work with charities, for example, or colleagues, the NHS, and so on. And that way, your voice can be heard by even more people, and by kind of collaborating and increasing the views you're getting, because you're essentially increasing that engagement and increasing the audience that you're speaking to, you're able to inspire and educate even more people. And so that's the other great thing about, I think, social media, and what I've enjoyed through my platform is, you know, essentially working with people that I wouldn't normally have within my normal everyday kind of life, I guess.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because quite a few creators will collaborate with like the NHS and charities, and you'll be able to reach their audience that follows their pages, and maybe their page has millions of people, and so you've developed all of those creative skills and being on camera, and it's uncomfortable in the beginning, but once you get going and you keep at it, then you'll be ready for that collaboration when it comes along. So I think it's great to, go through that learning curve, and then these opportunities open up and they come to you. So that's
Exactly.
amazing. So where do you see yourself going as a creator? What do you want to kind of do in future, or do you want to just keep going as you are?
I guess, as all creators, I want my followers to increase, and I want my engagement to increase, and I want to be reaching as many people as I can. And um, I guess I also want to be able to continue it at the end of the day. I mean, I think being a mum, being a surgeon, doing a PhD, all of these things, it's a lot. And so sometimes social media comes, third or fourth on that list. And so making the time for it can be difficult. And so in the future, I'd like to be able to have it as something that I continue with, and that's active essentially in my day-to-day life. Just because I feel that it has been really important in the impact I've been making. And I hope that, others think so as well. But I think it would be really helpful to continue it. So yeah, I think that's the main one. And then yeah, and just to continue educating, continue inspiring, being a colleague that's able to kind of work together with everyone, make them laugh through embarrassing, videos and things. And also, it also brings, what I was saying with kind of getting my scrub team to do videos with me. it also really kind of brings my team together when we do something like that, creates a bit of entertainment. We've had a long day, we're all worn out, we're all tired, but, we'll do a funny video and then it kind of lightens the mood and everyone laughs about it. And we chuckle about how many left feet we've got and so on. So it's a nice way to kind of, go through life, I guess, and make work, manageable as well. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. So you mentioned before we started recording that you were looking to upgrade your equipment. So what are you using at the moment to create, and what are you wishing for?
Yes. My setup at the moment is very bare, is the bare minimum. It's my phone. And so I have a lot of things on my Christmas wish list, as it were, to get in order to create a kind of setup for my videos. But I think the important thing is you can create videos anywhere and with anything, as long as you've got a phone or some sort of camera device, then you can create videos, and as a result you can reach people and you can do it. So I think I've shown, if anything, that with very little I've been able to kind of, reach the audiences I've wanted to, and to have the impact I've wanted to so far. When it comes to my setup, it is just my phone. On my wish list, there is absolutely lots of things like lights, as we were talking about, a microphone, and then, to have that kind of more professional setup, as it were, to be able to make the videos, especially nowadays where all these social media platforms are becoming video based, especially when, all the social media platforms and editing softwares are becoming much better. And there is so much AI and, generative kind of video making tools out there. So I think it's important to if you're going to compete with other videos, essentially, to make yours as good as possible and the quality the best it can be. So my aim is to increase the quality of my content creation with more of a setup. So at the moment I just don't have that. And as I was saying, it's mainly because I do a lot of my video making in theatre and in a hospital where I'm on the go, as it were. So I can't just kind of sit down, suddenly set up all my lighting, my microphone. So and I like it that way. I think it works for certain things, and maybe it's just about changing up the way I do my videos, where half of them is more kind of a professional setup based, and half of them is, in the scrub changing room talking to the camera. So yeah.
Brilliant. Do you think that making your videos has made you a better communicator?
Yes, I think it has. And actually, I think because on social media, I have to use as much lay language as possible, and as little jargon, little medical jargon as possible, it means that it's really kind of, it drills into me the fact that most people aren't in any way medical, don't have anyone in medical in their family, don't understand medical words. So when it comes to my everyday working life, I guess with my patients, I am better communicators because I'm able to speak to them in very much a lay kind of language that hopefully they can understand better. And I think also with social media, I've also realized how good it is to show things through images and videos. And I think we don't have that enough in hospitals when we're communicating with a patient. And actually, I mean, my artistic skills are zilch, but I definitely now, when kind of communicating with my patients in theatres or in the clinic, communicate a lot more by drawing stuff. And I think that helps them understand more. And I think also social media is a great kind of way of showing them something that I'd want to explain to them, but sometimes I can't, and someone else or a video has explained better. So yeah, I think it's helped in lots of ways to make me a better communicator for sure.
I love that. So any final words?
If you want to start a page and start creating content, just do it. Number one. And number two, just, yeah, I don't know why I said number two, but yeah, if you want to do that, do it, and just, yeah, be yourself, have your goals in mind, and you can kind of get anywhere you want. But yeah,
Yeah, and enjoy it.
and enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. Have fun with it. Dance, make a fool out of yourself if you have to. But yeah, enjoy it, and yeah, and make something that you'd be proud of. So yeah,
Yeah, and don't think about what other people think too much.
exactly. Don't be put down by views and numbers and so on.
Brilliant. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been really a joy to talk to you.
Oh, thanks, Virginia. It's been lovely to speak to you as well.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for watching or listening, and we'll see you at the next episode. Bye. Oh, and also special thanks to your mum for looking after Hugo.
Oh, thanks. Yes, thank you, Mum.